Okay, buckle up, folks. This one is gonna get heated.
You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid, and it came out, Cenk Uygur.
Stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable communities.
Yes, you are. You're using them as human
standing
shields.
in front of vulnerable communities. Cenk,
No,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities. I'm the most endangered, Franny.
By tweeting at Elon Musk? Please don't help me. When Charlie Kirk goes, we're glad Cenk's here, everybody. That was the feeling that I think a lot of right-wingers have when they look at you, Cenk, where they're like, damn, yo, we crushed so hard. Even this guy is turning now.
I represent the great majority of left-wing voters.
I want to ask you about who the establishment is. Do you think that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are establishment? Did you do it or not?
Let me finish, Franny.
Did you do it or not?
Important, and you're totally smearing me on a thing that is crazy.
I'm playing you the clip. I'm not smearing you. I'm literally playing the clip. Cenk, I'm playing the clip.
Will you let me talk?
Right,
look at this. They didn't agree with you.
No. And you always say, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah,
you want me to do that? I can do it too. Right. You're wrong. You're an idiot. You're wrong. We can do it. We know what you do when you disagree.
Has Cenk Uygur sold out to the right? Is he moving away from the left? Is he bowing down to kiss the ring of Donald Trump? Is he rolling over for Team MAGA? A lot of progressive leftist propagandists feel that way, from Kyle Kulinski, from Secular Talk, to David Pakman, to Brian Tyler Cohen, and also Francesca Fiorentini. And this is the heated debate between Francesca and Cenk Uygur. Check this out.
Since Donald Trump has been reelected president, Cenk Uygur has been going on a number of shows, but particularly right-wing leaning shows. Patrick Bet-David, Tim Pool. His latest appearance was at the Turning Points conference with, of course, Charlie Kirk. He has thoughts on why he's doing that, and I have thoughts on what he is doing. And so I wanted to hear them out and also express my feelings. But so here he is, Cenk Uygur. It's like it's not.
By the way, this is a over 2 hour interview, and I distilled it a lot. We're only gonna hit the highlights.
Not an understatement to say that I've lost sleep over what's been going on. That I've been really upset, angry, and like wounded, if that makes sense to you. You know, I feel like we are in the precipice of a really perilous time of true authoritarianism coming to the United States. And someone like you, who has been such a leader on the progressive left, has such a massive role to play in this moment as a stalwart of resistance, as so many of these centrists are kowtowing to the right. And then I see you on the same stages with, and in the same rooms with, the right-wingers who are mouthpieces of said authoritarianism. And I don't believe that you are actually pushing back instead. And I think there's a project here. You're trying to find points of agreement. So what are you doing, and why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, that you're having me on as opposed to talking about me and raging, et cetera, without actually getting into the full conversation. So, look, first, let me acknowledge, Franny, that I get why people are concerned. So you've seen this pattern a number of times. So people think, oh, this is the beginning of the pattern, and we know how that ends, right? So you see Dave Rubin go talk to Tucker Carlson once. You say, well, okay, he's defending our side or finding a point of agreement, whatever, right? But then next thing you know, he agrees with Tucker again and again and again and again. And then all of a sudden he's talking about how bad the left is. You know, I've been battling what I call the far left for years now. So I think that's a perfectly fine area of disagreement to have within a movement. I know that some people think, no, we're not allowed to disagree, and any disagreement is heresy, right? And that's a core thing that we'll probably discuss here today, right? That's one of the issues. And so now in terms of, so why am I doing it, or how did it come about? So how it came about is when I was doing that protest run against Biden, I went on all the shows I possibly could, left wing, right wing, et cetera. And on the right wing shows, I was expecting what I always get from right wing, which is the Republicans are right and you guys are all evil and no points of agreement, just a bunch of robots, right? And what I started to see was they're not as robotic as we thought they were, right? And so there was like these flashes of like, wait, they actually genuinely hate Mitch McConnell. That's interesting. I know why. I know it's because Trump said he was bad, right? But at the same time, there's a second reason. And I know that a lot of people on the left don't believe it, but I'm here to tell you that I've seen it with my own eyes. There are actual populists in those right-wing hills, and they don't like the establishment. They hate the establishment. Now, they don't have the same opinions with us on social issues, cultural issues, etc. And then
look at Francesca. She's like, but do they really hate the establishment, or are they just saying they hate the establishment, but their actions tell a different story? Because that's typically what happens in politics. Some people will come along and sometimes they'll say the right thing, and then their followers will start saying the right thing. But the bottom line is they're all immersed in establishment thinking and establishment ways of doing things. And when I'm saying the establishment, I'm talking about the real operators, the people who really pull the levers and push the buttons of political power. We're talking about the central bankers. We're talking about the corporate elitists who got into power because of what their patsy politicians did for them by creating regulations that got rid of their competition and gave them an edge in this market that they claim is free that actually isn't. That's what I'm talking about true political power. So you can say you're a populist all you want to. You can even say you're a representative of the American people. But if your actions tell a different story than your words, then you're just a liar. And that's what politics is. And that's what politicians are. They're just liars. So here's Cenk Uygur saying, no, believe me, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen what these guys say. They're actually anti-establishment. Oh, really? Really?
Genuinely hate war. Now, if Trump declares war on Panama and they all go along, then I was wrong. Okay? So we'll get to that too. And so more and more. And Charlie Kirk came on in the RNC. And this is the one that really threw me for a loop, and I couldn't believe it. He started talking about how bad BlackRock was and how private equity is buying up all the homes in America. And I'm like, that's what we think. That's what we say, right? And I couldn't believe that Charlie Kirk, of all people, was coming in our direction on that issue. And so I think their funding might have changed, to be honest.
So Charlie Kirk told Cenk Uygur, hey, we're against BlackRock, but Charlie Kirk supports a guy like Donald Trump, who's friends with Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock. Oh, yeah, okay, I see how this works. Oh, it's WW. It's a dog and pony show. It's another juggling clown that has come out to entertain the masses.
And so the right is not the monolith that we thought they are. And right now, since they've gotten past their robotic establishment, they're in a state of kind of chaos, a chaos that's not so bad, in my opinion. And you're seeing it today, like MAGA attacking Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. If they were a monolith and they were robots and they were a cult, that would never happen. Now, I happen to agree with Elon and Vivek on that issue.
I was going to ask you, actually.
Yeah, but first of all, hey, there I am agreeing with Elon and Vivek. Why? Because they agree with us.
I really want to talk about what you are doing and what you believe you are doing. And I want to just explain, by showing, and I want to ask you what you think the goal is of what you are doing. But here was a moment where you were on TPUSA's, on Turning Point USA's conference, and Charlie Kirk, who is a Christian nationalist, he's an avowed Christian nationalist. TPUSA has had wildly racist and white supremacists associated with them, including inviting people like Nick Fuentes to speak. No matter what you think of his thoughts on BlackRock, here is him asking you about left media. And I got to say, Cenk, this one sucked real hard for me. And you also, I think, have been using these opportunities to talk a lot about the left to the right.
I think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks.
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT. That's in the left-wing ecosystem.
I just want to stop and say I'm excited to hear which ones you like, given that you just sort of insulted Emma Vigeland just now. I'm curious which ones you actually do still support that aren't your own, but I'm going to keep going, Cenk. Hang on.
So
I can answer.
I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing. Okay, so you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
And a lot of people on the left know this as well. If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right?
Okay, so there you are, and you know.
Yeah, love it. Stick with 100% on what I just said there. I'm 100% right about that. So let's discuss.
Yeah, let's discuss. You had your say there, and you've been saying various degrees of that same thing. And I gotta say, like, I watched this whole, I watched the whole clip, and it started off, and I was like, this is pretty good. This is good. Like, pretty good interview. You know, I like that you're sitting down. It wasn't bad. This moment, like, truly a part of me died when I watched this.
Wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Super. Just like shriveled up and died, floated away into the ocean. Here's what.
So let's not minimize this. For Francesca, this is serious. And for a lot of people, for a lot of progressives, a lot of leftists who follow the Young Turks, and you can look at the Young Turks numbers, they're declining rapidly. But for a lot of people, they're taking this very, very seriously. They are taking this as a stab in the back from what they thought was fellow leftist progressive propagandist Cenk Uygur, based on what he's doing, going around the rightist circuits, talking smack about the left. They're taking this very seriously.
What happens? A couple things. He asks you about left-wing media and why there isn't more left-wing media. Which already, as you are there, you know, in the sort of kingdom of turning points, is like, that's such a dig. Like, why are you guys so weak is effectively what he's saying. And instead of pointing out the way that TPUSA has been bankrolled by Republican mega donors out of Chicago and many other places for years now, and talking about how the Daily Wire was funded by the Fracking brothers, the Wilkes brothers. Now they're fishing for new, you know, investors, whatnot, but that there is so much money on the right. He handed this answer to you on a fucking platter, and all you said was, you know what? You guys are really good at being welcoming. People just like you. Cenk, they've got all the money.
I didn't say people just
what
like
are you
me. That's
talking
very
about? That's effectively what you're good at coalescing. And here's my question to you about so that's just number one on the media, because that just stings because I'm in media. But on the 5%, if you disagree with MAGA 5%, they still welcome you. How did that work out for Liz Cheney?
Yeah. So look, is there a part of MAGA that'll push you out? Of course. That's what we know MAGA for.
When do they push you out, Cenk? When do they push you out?
Largely when you disagree with Trump.
Exactly.
So listen,
this is the thing that it's the unspoken thing that you're never saying, that ultimately it's all hunky-dory. Elon can tweet back at you. Vivek can listen to you. But if you defy Donald Trump, the God Emperor, you're kicked out of the castle. And no one's defending Liz Cheney. Screw both their castle and the other castle. But Liz Cheney voted with Donald Trump 98% of the time. And just the 1% when she was like, hey, you know what? You can't do a coup on this country. And Adam Kissinger, and they were gone. So miss me with this 5% BS, yo.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's that when you disagree with Trump, especially in the past, especially in the first term, et cetera, you're a goner, right? But they are pushing back even on Trump now. And this is really encouraging. When I talk about Team Miriam, Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Mike Huckabee, and Mike Walz. So those are the four
neocons.
that put in by the neocons put in by Miriam Adelson. In the old days, what I would have gotten Franny is, no way, they're the greatest. They're not neocons. You're a liar. Trump picked them. Trump's the best. Now what I'm getting from the right-wing host, which is amazing, and let alone the base, they're all saying, yeah, I hear you. We got concerns about them. we got concerns. Okay, so that's the thing I never heard before. The movement overall, at least the online left movement, seems to be trying to push out the one network that has helped progressives more than any other network, and it's not in dispute. But my God, we have 5% disagreement. So tear it down, tear it down. This is the destructive extreme left that I honestly, that portion, that kind of destructive attitude is poison. It's not just poison to us, it's poison to our chances of winning. I'm trying to get our side to wake up, snap out of our hypnosis.
And that's the whole thing for Cenk. We got to win. It doesn't matter if we're right. It doesn't matter if we've taken the moral position. We've got to win. So we've got to construct a strategy where it looks like we're kind of in agreement on some things with Team MAGA, to the point where, and this is what Francesca and the other progressives are concerned about, you're playing patty cake and footsie with people, and you're trying to give them the impression that Donald Trump and Team MAGA aren't part of the establishment machine. You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. That's the way they look at it. That's why they feel like they have a Cenk Uygur dagger stuck in the back of their shoulder blade.
Of we hate, and we hate the right wing, and they're all white supremacists, and they're all racist, and they're all sexist, and we hate, and we never go in the room with them. We hate. What the hell happened to us? And no one's allowed to disagree. We're now authoritarian. No.
Wait,
I
Cenk,
rebel.
can I just clarify?
I will never allow the left to be authoritarian, and this idea of just hating the other side is poison.
You know what's so funny?
Politics, I don't care if you're talking about the left or the right, the RNC or the DNC, which are both corporate entities. Politics is inherently authoritarian. Why? Because you aren't allowed to do certain things, and you have to do certain things. Certain things you got to do. If you don't do them, we're going to punish you. There are certain things that we don't want you to do, and if you do them, we're going to punish you. So if you don't do, or you do the things that we don't want you to do, or the things that we want you to do, you're going to be punished. That is an authoritarian regime. The drug war laws are authoritarian in nature. Shaking the American tax cattle down to fund a CARES Act or a military industrial complex or the prison industrial complex, or give mountains of money to Ukraine or Israel, is inherently authoritarian. Are there some aspects within regimes that aren't authoritarian? Yeah, but only so people can be adequately deceived by the system.
About you calling the left authoritarian is that you think the left has power. Like, I love that you think
total nonsense.
we are on the precipice.
You can have minimal power. That power and authoritarian. You can be an authoritarian without much power. Everybody's got a measure of power, by the way. You have the power to persuade. You may have a large audience on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram. So there's a certain amount of power and influence you can wield over people. Some people are richer than others. The people who are more rich can exercise and their wealth as a measure of power. But you don't have to be super powerful to have an authoritarian mentality. So Francesca is way wrong on this.
Of real authoritarianism and real fascism, and you believe that the online left are the authoritarians? I mean, I don't know how to tell you. You sound like Bill Maher and Nancy Pelosi had a kid, and it came out Cenk Uygur. First of all, you had a great conversation with Crystal Ball. I think she made some really good points to you on, I think it was on Breaking Points. Kyle has, I think, been very disturbed, especially by your appearance with Charlie Kirk. But what you just said there, they've been against us. I really want to just dig into this idea that, because you're a fighter, man. That's cool. That's great. But like, you really do have a very, I almost want to call it Bush-like, Cheney-like, you're with us or against us attitude.
100% wrong.
Like, you just literally, I love that you're proving my point. But when I say this, you truly, you sound like people are either against you, but if they criticize you, they are not. And yet, here you are, Cenk, telling the entire right wing that all you want to do is break bread with them, that you want to debate with them, but afterward you want to go have a beer.
Yes, I do.
You want to have a beer with people who want to put people in mass deportation camps. They want to deport.
You think we're going to get put in camps? You sound All right. Anyway,
You think I sound crazy? They're starting with Chinese people.
I think he almost said you sound like a conspiracy theorist. And she, by the way, is on the payroll, the TYT payroll,
That's my fucking
as a minor contributor.
family, dog. Like, what are you
Franny,
talking about?
That's such an excuse. Okay, they're going to start with Muslims. They're going to start with my people. Okay,
Sure,
if they
sure,
start
sure.
at all.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
stop hiding behind vulnerable communities.
I'm hiding behind vulnerable
Yes,
communities.
you are. You're using
I'm
them as human
standing in
shields.
front of vulnerable communities,
No,
James.
you're
What
not.
are you doing? What
No,
are you doing?
I'm in front of vulnerable communities.
Uh-huh,
I'm the most endangered, Franny.
By tweeting at Elon Musk? Please
whatever.
don't help me. Come
Okay,
on,
so this
James. This
is
is so
total BS.
sad. That's
Okay,
so
so
sad.
let's
Let's take it down. Let's simmer down. No. Simmer down. I'm asking. Let me just ask you real honest to God.
You already said 12 things that I need to respond to. Can I respond to them?
No, I want to ask you this one
No, of
question.
course not.
Let's talk about you going on these shows. Just simmer down. Let me ask you one question. Imagine if Kamala Harris had won. Okay, she wins. She wins the popular vote. She wins obviously the Electoral College. Incredible, first female president, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Tucker Carlson started making all these rounds on really progressive leftist shows, went on Kyle's show, went on my show. I'm like, who the hell? Started reaching out and wanting to talk and wanting to come to agreement on things. What would that look like to you?
Yeah, it would look like Tucker was trying to reach out. Tucker's a bad example because I would be surprised if he did that. But okay, yeah, no problem.
What would it look like to you?
I wouldn't. And do I think that Tucker would be selling out? No, there's no chance.
No. Well, I'm not. It's not about selling out. What would that like? What would it just seem like? Hey, man, we can agree. Yeah, you know what? I did say that Kamala Harris was a DEI.
By the way, by saying that, it seems like Cenk Uygur thinks that Francesca and other progressives think that he's selling out. And I haven't heard Kyle Kulinski say that, and I've heard him speak on this. I haven't heard Crystal Ball say that. I have not heard David Pakman or Brian Tyler Cohen or anybody say that Cenk Uygur's selling out. They are displeased with the method. They're displeased at some of the things that he says, but I don't think anybody said he's selling out. But he's getting the impression that they're saying that he's a sellout.
I hire and she's basically a communist. But now I just feel like I've antagonized you and I'm here to break bread and let's talk and let's get stuff done. What would that look like to you?
It would look surprising, but I wouldn't care. I'd find it interesting. Why? What does it look like to you?
I mean, to me, if Tucker Carlson did that, I'd be like, oh, we fucking won. We won like crazy. We won so resoundingly. He's doing an apology tour because 3 ghosts visited him in the middle of the night and he's completely changed his tune because he wants to throw down with the winners. We are crushing it. And
people have equated what Cenk Uygur has done with what Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski from MSDNC did when they visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
In that moment, you want me to play it for you? When Charlie Kirk goes, "We're glad Cenk's here, everybody," and that was the feeling that I think a lot of right wingers have when they look at you, Cenk, where they're like, "Damn, yo, we crushed so hard. Even this guy is turning now."
Yeah, except I'm not turning. I've said it 2,000 times.
I'm just saying what it would look like. I'm just saying what it would look.
You keep saying it like it's true when it isn't remotely true. But okay, let me address it. So, okay, number one, you're empirically wrong because guess what's happening? Matt Gaetz has reached out to us, Tucker Carlson, to come on our shows. And so it's your exact analogy, okay? Patrick Bet-David, et cetera, and they won. They're still trying to come on the Young Turks. Why? Because they're trying to have a conversation, not because they want to do an apology tour. They think they are ascendant, but nevertheless, they want to talk to the left.
But you had to make it's because they think that
your version of the left says, no way, we never talk to the other side. But we're not authoritarian.
Jake, that's not true.
We're not authoritarian. You're not allowed to disagree 1%, but we're not authoritarian. We have no power, so we're not authoritarian. So that's not how it works, Franny. And the establishment Democrats are also authoritarian. So what do they say? You must agree with Kamala Harris, otherwise that's it. You're a heretic and you're being driven out from the party. You know that. The establishment Democrats have done that to us for the last 20 years. Don't tell.
And yet, Cenk Uygur and Brian Tyler Cohen and Kyle Kulinski and all the progressive leftists, including the king progressive Bernie Sanders, cast their vote for the establishment candidate, Kamala Harris. These guys are freaking hypocrites.
Tell me that there's no power on the left. There's tons of power on the left. And when the swarm comes, the left-wing swarm, oh, you'd like to be called a woman. You're racist, fascist, transphobe. What? I'm not authoritarian. No, that is an authoritarian mindset.
There you go.
You don't have to have power to have an authoritarian mindset.
There you go.
And there's different versions of power.
I completely agree. You don't have to have power or a lot of power to have an authoritarian mindset and to vote for somebody who's going to commit authoritarian garbage on the rest of your fellow Americans.
Shunning power. There's social media power. There's mainstream media power. There's political power. There's all sorts of different power.
That's true.
So look, guys, the left. First of all,
there's also just money and actual power.
It gets back to the we. So you ask me politically, who do I represent? I represent the great majority of left-wing voters. The great majority of left-wing voters are not pro-establishment. They get tricked by mainstream media into voting in that direction. It drives me absolutely nuts. But when you ask them about policies, they agree with us completely on policies, right? And then
there you go. That's from Cenk's own mouth. I represent the great majority of left-wing voters who might be deceived by what's going on in the establishment, but I'm basically the Pied Piper. I am the representative of left-wing voters at large, generally speaking.
And the great majority of left-wing voters are not far left. They think a woman should be called a woman. And I'm not saying that in some dismissive way. I'm in favor of trans rights. If you want to be called a birthing person, we love it. We got no problem with it. You be called a birthing person. But when you say no, we call everyone a birthing person. America hates it. Left-wing voters hate it. When you pretend there's no crime, left-wing voters hate it. So I'm standing up for the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters and left-wing voters.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Authoritarian sides of the left saying you're not allowed to disagree with the establishment. You're not allowed to disagree with the extreme left. No, I am allowed. I am allowed.
Hang on. Wait, please. I don't want to lose the forest for the trees here, truly. And I hear what you're saying. I know it can feel online like a circular firing squad. I understand.
Billion%. It happens every time.
I know it does. I want to ask you about who the establishment is in your mind. Who is the establishment and who is not the establishment?
Great question. So Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, all the corporate Democrats who take corporate PAC money, serve their corporate donors 100%, lie to us 24/7, never intend to do any progressive policy positions, never intend to do any Democratic policy positions that they state in campaigns, and are backed by the liars in mainstream media, pretending that they're on our side when they're playing good cop, bad cop with establishment Republicans and robbing us blind on behalf of their donors.
That encapsulates all of politics, not just leftist politics, but rightist politics. But here's the problem. He lets his hypocritical mask slip when he says he's against this and how poisonous the establishment is and how evil the people are who are controlled by corporate donor and PAC money. And yet he will tell you when it comes down to it on his TYT network, vote for Nancy Pelosi. We can't let the other guy win. Vote for this guy. Vote for Pete Buttigieg. Look how great Pete Buttigieg is. Pete Buttigieg appears on the TYT network. They give him plenty of room to talk about his policies. He's the establishment. What are you doing messing with the establishment, Cenk? Same thing with Brian Tyler Cohen. Pete Buttigieg comes on Brian Tyler Cohen's. There's no pushback. There's no identifying these vile characters as establishment puppets, and people like this, like Cenk Uygur and Francesca and all the progressive leftist propagandists are voting for the people they're telling you are poison. What does that tell you about these people?
Do you think that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are establishment?
So they're complicated. The reason they're complicated is because they act like the establishment. They do the same robberies, the same corporate tax cuts, but they are pretending to be populists. And that's why I've called Donald Trump a fake populist hundreds of times, right? And I've called him a fake populist on right-wing shows. And I've said, hey, watch out for your own donors on right-wing shows, right? And so, but they are not part of this.
Just to be clear, Cenk Uygur did not call Donald Trump a fake populist at TPUSA. He did not call him a fake populist in front of Patrick Bet David. And to my knowledge, when he's been on Tim Pool or some right-leaning outlet, he has not called Donald Trump outright a fake populist.
The machine that was the Borg, Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden were the co-captains of the Borg.
I feel like that's the most cogent answer I've gotten from you that I could sort of get on board with, which is exploit the chaos to turn MAGA against Trump. But even if you wanted to do that, I'm not sure you're achieving it through the kinds of interviews that you're doing and the way that you're playing to the right, especially when you go on those stages and hit the left more than you do the right. But I just want to leave that there. I accept the hey, let's plant the booby traps so that we can make them fall into them later, that kind of thing. That makes the most sense to me, even if I sort of strategically disagree with it.
The system we want to protect is democracy, the Constitution, civil rights, etc. That's the system that we love and believe in. The system we do not want to protect and we want to fight against is donor money, establishment, protecting the status quo, protecting corporate rule. So separate those two things out, because the permanent system of the Constitution and democracy is great. The current system of corruption and establishment rule is horrible.
Yeah. Do you understand that the right actually just conflates those two things?
I think the left often conflates those two things too.
There's nothing more anti-establishment than firing a bunch of federal workers. Do you believe that that's a populist thing to do?
No, it's fake populism. And so it's so alluring to the MAGA base because they feel like, oh, we're fighting against the government, right? But what I'm trying to get them to understand is, you guys, they think that the government is a blanket bad thing. And so the story I often tell on these shows is the one that Matt Stoller does. Great progressive, done great anti-monopoly work in the Senate, et cetera, which is, hey, what size pipe should I get? And people always ask, and that's why Matt does it this way. Well, what job are you doing? It depends. And that's exactly the point that I make to these right-wingers. Do we want big government or little government? Well, it depends, right? Are we invading Iraq? Then I want smaller government, right? Are we going to invade doctors' offices and get between a woman and a doctor? Then I want smaller government, right? But if we're going to protect the average American from the bankers, then I want a little bit larger government. I don't want to defund the police on Wall Street, right?
If we want to protect the American people from the central banking cartel that owns the government, then we want bigger government. There is absolutely zero understanding of how things actually work from the progressive leftist propaganda side. Unfreaking believable that anybody would even entertain that thought, let alone say it on the internet where it can be played over and over. It's insanity.
Right. So I explained that, hey, if you fire people that are at the IRS, guess who's it's going to help the most? The very rich who cheat on their taxes.
But they all want to audit the Pentagon, which...
So if you eliminate that domestic terror cell, it wouldn't help you every April? Give me a frickin' break.
Which the IRS doesn't do, but it's very interesting that, you got everyone to cheer auditing the Pentagon. But of course, the idea of auditing billionaires, the Republicans are absolutely against that because they've been trying to defund the IRS. And the establishment is, again, just Biden, Kamala Harris.
McConnell, everyone who takes corporate donations and serves corporate donors. Okay.
But not Donald Trump, because he doesn't take corporate, except for all the corporate money he's taking. But he's different. Okay, keep going. Okay.
Wait,
I'm just trying to understand who the establishment is and isn't.
Corporate back money. I mean, how many times can I call him a fake populist before you believe me? But we get to fight him on that, Franny. We don't have to say like blanket Steve Bannon's great, Charlie Kirk's great. No, and I've been so clear about this.
So you think you've been fighting? You think you've been fighting them?
Oh, on the issues we disagree on, hell yeah.
I don't want to get a beer with someone who thinks that I should, go into septic shock instead of be attended by a physician.
Yeah, So I know that this is the thought that's breaking a lot of people's minds, but you should.
You are absolutely off your shit if you think that the right and left are equally hateful. And that's what I'm hearing from you, that you think that somehow the left and the right, they both hate equally. Both of them want to intern people. Both of them believe that some people don't deserve rights. File your nails or something, because this was not good. This was not a good look during that conference.
I ask you guys something.
It's amazing that they have such a simplistic conversation like this. I mean, it's almost like we're listening to the conversation of two little grade school kids. You don't understand. The right hates way more than the left. It's an individual thing. It's a nuanced thing. Maybe your neighbor hates more than you do. Maybe you love animals more than they do. Maybe you love kids more and want to protect kids more than the next person does. But it's not just merely a left or right, black and white kind of thing. And it's just amazing that they would actually speak along these lines without adding all of the complexity and the nuance.
I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Not only you get hung out to dry on this, like, can we all agree, shtick that you're on, and they don't meet you.
God,
and then Charlie meets you with this.
Constitutional right to housing.
I love it.
Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
So then he goes like, wait a minute, not only don't I not agree with you on the trans people, because he never answered it. He's like, actually, fuck your right to housing anyway. And I know that's not even what the Constitution says. It's just equal protection around housing, right? It doesn't say you have a right to housing. I wish it did.
She wishes it did because she's a wealth redistributionalist, just like Cenk Uygur is. She wishes the Constitution said that you had the right to housing, because if you say that somebody has the right to housing, then you're also implying that somebody else has the obligation to provide you with housing, whether you deserve it or work for it or not.
I challenge them on how trans people are like every American, and they should have constitutional rights.
Well, let's watch a little bit. Let's watch whether you did it. Let's watch whether you did it. Did you do it or not?
Let me finish, Franny.
Did you do it or not?
Important, and you're totally smearing me on a thing that is crazy.
I'm playing you the clip. I'm not smearing you. I'm literally playing the clip. Cenk, I'm playing the clip.
Will you let me talk?
Cenk is pissed.
I said I had the courage to challenge them on constitutional rights for trans people. You asked me to have the courage to challenge them. I did, and now you're attacking me for it?
No, I'm not attacking you for it. I'm saying you have characterized this.
Look at this. They didn't agree with you.
No. I'm saying
you're trying to get them to agree to constitutional rights. That's exactly what we should do. We should say trans people are just like every American citizens, and they should have constitutional rights. I go and have the courage to challenge that audience to that, and then you want to make fun of it? Like
I'm saying
agree with you. What do you want? Do you want me to challenge them, or do you not want me to challenge them? Make up your mind.
Cenk, you have so much disdain for our side. If I say, hey, I believe trans people should play in sports, you have so much disdain. You get so mad. But here you are, and here is what you say.
Constitutional right to housing.
Okay, so I hear you. What I got out of that, guys.
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start. So guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right and I say it to the left.
For sure.
The problem with that is you're not treating everyone as Americans. You're not treating them as individuals and free people. If you say, hey, I want the politicians to create a gun law that restricts the usage of guns and bans the sale and possession of certain kind of guns, which means you're in turn voting for the criminalization of innocent Americans who haven't done anything wrong. That's not being pro-American. That's not being pro-freedom. That's being authoritarian.
You have so much.
And that's what Trump wants. That's what Franny wants. That's what Secular Talk wants. That's what all leftists wants. And on the other side of it, that's what rightists want. They want to control people, but they want their guy to be the one in control.
Much grace for people who really were groaning and not on board with what you said.
When did I say I have grace for that?
I mean, no, you said it right there. You said, hey, I'll take it. And it was like, this is what we got to do.
Two-thirds of the room said, yay, trans constitutional rights. When's the last time 2/3 of AmFest cheered for constitutional rights?
Why do you not extend the same grace to so-called radical leftists?
I'm really glad we're back to this, Franny, because this is important. And we mentioned in the beginning, and I wanted to come back to it.
Super subjective territory here.
Mm-hmm.
So having grace for the left, I run the network, and everybody gets to have their own opinion. Everybody gets to fight me. Everybody gets to state their own opinion without any editorial control. First of all,
you do go ballistic on them like you went ballistic on me earlier.
Yeah,
you do get, and you
but
always say you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah,
you want me to do that? I can do it.
Right.
You're wrong. You're an idiot. You're wrong.
Franny,
we can do it. We know what you do when you disagree. It's not.
Franny,
it's not. I'll take it.
Hold on.
I'll take it.
What you're using is fear of the right-wing populism going south on us, which is a real fear.
Going south. My analysis has always been Donald Trump is a great brand master as an outsider, but he's a Trojan horse. That at the end of the day, even though Mitch McConnell, says his bullshit and whatever, of course he wants all the same things that Donald Trump wants. Trump is a brilliant Trojan horse for, yes, the establishment right. Look at all the neocons he's appointed. I made a joke like, oh, all the cabinet positions are going to be, and yeah, you got a random Kash Patel and whomever, but they're going to be the people commenting on his Truth Social. It's like, nah, he's picking Huckabee. He's picking Marco Rubio. He's got Elise Stefanik. He's all these people who we're going to be at war with Iran within a couple years. You throw the left under the bus more than you push back on the right. And I you might disagree with the characterization. That's how I feel. This part stung for me.
Why do you think they're losing these names?
Yeah, so everything's a little bit different.
And he's talking about like the Tulsi Gabbards and RFK Jr. and why the Democrats have lost those names.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Person's different. So Tulsi, I think, was always secretly a right-winger, but Bobby Kennedy Jr. was not. He was definitely a Democrat, right? And so he's a decent example. So Bobby has opinions that a lot of people on the left don't agree with, right? To which I say something revolutionary to the left. So what? Okay, he agrees with us on the environment. He agrees with us on housing, on anti-corruption. He doesn't agree with us on vaccines, fluoride, etc., right?
So the bottom line is progressive propagandists are upset at Cenk Uygur for dumping over the progressive apple cart and feels like he's being a turncoat and going over to the right, trying to find common ground in issues they can break bread and have a beer over. I'm going to leave this right here. There's way more to this. I will put the original link in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. I want to know what you have to say. Is there any real difference between the establishment, left or right, that the progressive propagandists call out and what they do? Because oftentimes, all the time, they push and endorse leftist establishment candidates. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab a shirt, become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are and be willing to stand on and flex your rights, because if you don't use your rights, you will lose them. I will see you in the next video.